So carbohydrates, we know, are an energy-producing nutrient, meaning that they do produce energy. Energy-producing nutrients produce energy. They are the building blocks of other nutrients. We know house of cards, house of cards. They are divided into simple, which would be like our monosaccharides, disaccharides. But we also have complex carbohydrates, which would be like our fibers, starches. Anything excess is converted into fat. And unfortunately, okay, so we do have good carbs and bad carbs. We get some carbs that are immediately taken and put into the bloodstream for use right now. But then we do have some carbs, the sugars, that go directly to the storage unit. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, directly to the storage unit.
Directly to jail.
Directly to jail. Well, the problem is that all of the things that taste yummy have the type of sugar that goes immediately to the storage unit. Sad to say. This guy's got quite a storage unit on him.
It looks like he's like pregnant, like
My goodness gracious. He has fat accumulating in, again, you haven't done the digestive system. I'm just going to throw some words out there. You have a winter blanket. So if I take you and I rip your stomach open, your abdomen, and I open it up and I look, whoa. There's a blanket tucked in underneath. And I'm going to have to reach under your intestines and pull up this blanket. It really does look like a blanket. It's called the omentum. And it's what stores fat in the abdomen. And it's also this really cool thing. So if you get a perforation or an infection, we don't want juices and food and stuff leaking out into our abdomen. The omentum will go like saran wrap and wrap itself around it and form a barrier around your perforated intestine. Men tend to store fat more commonly in this area than women, which is why you see more pot-bellied men. So just a little fun fact.
If you were to take that out, the omentum that you said, would we still be able to store fat?
Not in your abdomen.
So, but do we need it for anything else?
Yeah, we do. It helps to keep everything where it's supposed to be.
So people couldn't just like take it out and say, okay, now you won't gain weight in your abdomen.
Oh no. No, you need it for other stuff.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah, you're like, hey, just open me up right now. No, you need it for other stuff.
Okay.
Our simple sugars, these are monosaccharides. We have glucose, fructose, galactose, and ribose. These are 4 examples of these monosaccharides, and what happens is these monosaccharides bond together to form more and more complex sugars. But we now know I have to break the bond in order to use the molecule. So those are our simple sugars. That would be a great matching question, don't you think? Yeah. That would be a fabulous matching question. Like list out the 4 monosaccharides and then a couple of disaccharide names and ask you match which one is monosaccharide, which one is disaccharide. That would be a great matching question. I should totally do it. I really should. Here's our 3 now there are more disaccharides than this. I'm just giving you 3 examples. We got sucrose, maltose, and lactose. Probably the one we're most commonly aware of is lactose. And then we have our polysaccharides, which is anything more than 2. Could be 3, could be 12. The bigger the molecule, the longer the molecule, the more bonds I have. The more bonds that I have, the more energy I have to use to break all of the bonds. Kind of common sense. It's going to take my body more energy to break 13 bonds than it is to break 2. So the more bonds that I have, the more complex the molecule, the more energy I'm using. And we can use this to our advantage when we're looking at things like an obesity diet, where if I'm using energy to get energy, I don't have as much energy left over to go to the storage unit. It's like I'm giving myself a little workout internally. Giving myself a little workout. And these complex sugars are going to include, as I said, starches. So like in human, it's going to be like your pasta, your potatoes. And we got our fibers. Corn, beet pulp. Beet pulp is a very commonly used one in our animal meals, in our animal food, dog and cat food. Is corn a starch too? Corn, yes and no. The kernel of the corn is considered a starch. The husk is considered a fiber. So it's kind of a little bit of both. Fiber, though, is like the magic nutrient. Oh my goodness gracious. There's not a whole lot that fiber can't do. First off, when I say the word fiber, what do you immediately think of? Metamucil, which does what? It helps you poop. It gives you a good poop. So we have different kinds of fibers. We have some fibers that the colon is like, yeah, helps to bulk up the stool. We have other types of fibers that the small intestines get really interested in. The more interested our small intestines get, the harder they work, the slower they work, which means I am uploading the nutrients into the blood much slower, which means they're getting converted much slower, which means I don't have as much glucose getting dumped into the bloodstream. This would be fabulous for insulin deprived animals, diabetes. If I can slow down the uptake of glucose, bam, diabetes solved, cured.
So for the disaccharide, it's glucose and then another single sugar?
Yeah, so for sucrose, you're looking at one glucose and a fructose bonded together.
But it's always a glucose and another one?
Not necessarily. Like for maltose, it's only two glucose together. Disaccharide just means two of the simple monosaccharides bonded together.
You say three that all have glucose. So.
They do all have glucose. They don't have to. These are just the three that I chose to demonstrate for you.
Okay.
The other great thing about fiber is it makes your body work really hard. It's nearly impossible to break down and we don't get any calories out of it. So we're using a lot of calories, not taking in a lot of calories, which is going to be great for what? Losing weight. So ultimately, our carbohydrates are a source of energy. Again, this is just a review slide. How are carbohydrates a source of heat? Is it because you're eating hot food and it's making you warm? So here's what's happening. Anytime your body works at all for any reason, you produce heat. Think about like when you're working out and you're sweating, you're producing heat. When you're cold, what do? You shiver, which is heat production. Your muscles are contracting, producing heat. If I eat, this should kind of make a little bit of sense. In the wintertime, when it's nice and cold, it never gets cold here in Texas, but hey, in the wintertime, I need to thermoregulate. In the winter, I need to raise my core body temperature to thermoregulate because it's cold outside. So what kind of foods are your favorite winter comfort foods?
Chili gumbo.
Chili gumbo. Foods.
I eat
I
ice
got
cream in the
foods.
winter, so don't ask me.
You get the meaty lasagna, the heavy pasta. oh, I do love me some chili. I do
Chicken and dumplings.
chicken and dumplings. Delish. I have the easiest recipe. It uses those Pillsbury crescent rolls. Oh, fabulous. Thick, hearty potato soup. Loaded baked potato soup. Oh, beef stew. You guys are making me hungry now.
I think I prefer winter meals over summer.
All right, but you eat this very, very heavy meal. How hard do your intestines have to work to break it down? Pretty hard. It's a hearty meal, producing heat. In the summertime, tell me.
I was gonna say salad.
You want to like salad, maybe a sandwich. Sometimes you go off your food altogether. What are you shaking your head? No, you don't eat salad?
No.
Oh, man.
One of my all-time favorite meals is big salad. It is. It's by no means whatsoever healthy.
Whatever you put.
Because I do put like celery, cucumber, but then I also put like chicken, bacon bits, croutons, cheddar cheese. Just soak it in ranch. So good. So refreshing. But we eat the much lighter meals because when we're thermoregulating in the summer, what's our body trying to do? Decrease. I don't want to have a big heavy meal producing heat in my belly. I want a light meal. Same thing with our animals. That's why we see them have a greater appetite in the winter than we do in the summer. And in fact, some of our animals will go off their food for a couple of days. I know Maze, sometimes she'll go off her food for 2 or 3 days. There's nothing wrong with her. She'll go and pick and then leave the rest in the bowl, and she'll go back and pick a little bit more. As long as Jenny's not around, her and both Poppy and Maisie are sometimes just grazers. But if my stepdog is there, she's my stepdog. I've told you about Jenny. Jenny. Of course, thank you. When Jenny's there, they all scarf it down because she'll go back behind them and eat it all. And they know it. My girls are very demure and willing to, keep their bowls themselves. Anyway, that's the whole point behind the heat. Makes sense though, right? Building blocks for other nutrients, we knew that. And then of course we get it stored in the body as adipose tissue. You cannot do without one of these nutrients. And I know that there are all these fad diets. I think I talked to you a little bit about. The keto diet. The keto diet is. Go ahead. I didn't hear you.
So since you're talking about the keto diet, a friend of mine was doing it one time and she started losing her hair because of that. Is that right?
Yeah, okay. So shall I explain why? All right, so what did I say nutrition was? House of cards, house of cards. House of cards, house of cards. So if I eliminate carbohydrate from my diet, do I still need sugars? Yes, I do. And where do I get those sugars from?
Food.
My adipose tissue, because the Atkins diet says I'm not allowed to eat carbohydrates.
Oh, yeah.
I start pulling it out of my adipose, which makes me lose weight, a tremendous amount of weight. But here's the problem, is I'm only able to pull out enough carbs for the bare requirements. Some carbohydrates in your diet help you, the building blocks for other nutrients. What is your hair made of? You guys know? It is a keratinization, but it is protein. Your hair is a protein. Well, if I don't have the correct amount of carbohydrates and my body's like, oh my God, ration this. Only the most important structures get the carbohydrates. Everything else gets to just forget it. Well, guess what your hair is dependent on in order to grow appropriately? Carbs and fats. If you've taken out carbs and you've minimized fats, guess what? You're pulling this out by the handful because your body is really in holy crap survival mode. Your body is like, oh my God, we're about to die. Is it really worried about what your hair looks like? No, so the hair gets brushed off the list and you start ripping out clumps of hair. Although if you're a curly girl, you know, you're doing that anyway when you're in the shower. Oh my God, I have handfuls of hair when I'm finished. Right? My curly girls know. So that's why you would get hair loss with a carbohydrate deficiency. But the other issue is that we are now breaking of excessive amounts of fat. Which again, you look fabulous. You're going to be dead. You'll leave a great looking corpse. You look fabulous. You're breaking down excessive amounts of fat to sustain the carbohydrates that you're not taking in the diet. And you're releasing something, I think I mentioned this yesterday. What is the pollution? Ketone bodies. Ketone bodies accumulate in the blood because your kidneys can't keep up. I think yesterday I compared it to Lucy in the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
Suddenly your kidneys can't keep up, and so it's like, just let it go back into circulation. So now you've got more and more ketones coming in, more and more ketones being recirculated. Ketones are acidic. And they change your body's pH, and you now are suffering from a condition called ketoacidosis. This is a condition that kills diabetics. It's called DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. And if anybody in here is on the keto diet, I'm not picking on you. Okay, don't be like, Miss Hamilton, this house hates me because I'm on the keto. No, this is your decision. I don't care. It doesn't affect my life at all. However, the keto diet, here's what makes me kind of laugh a little bit. Should I have, so normal, should I have detectable ketones in my urine? No, even if I'm breaking down adipose tissue in small amounts to compensate, like I've eaten, what did I eat today? I've had a small package of goldfish and a bite-sized gingerbread muffin. That's it. I'll eat when I get home. I'm breaking down adipose for my glucose, but I'm not doing it excessively so my kidneys can keep up. When I am, so no, the answer is no. You should not have ketones detected in your urine. You should pee on the stick and have it go, nope, no ketones here. The keto diet, I'm really apologizing if anyone is on the keto diet. But having a physiological and an anatomical background, knowing what I know, makes me cringe so hard. Because they give you a box of urine strips. And they say when you start getting detectable ketones in your urine, the diet is working. Huzzah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Seriously, they did that?
Seriously. When you have detectable ketones, that's when you know you're at that sweet spot. But me, having a pretty big background in anatomy, knows that when you have detectable ketones, it's because your kidneys they're getting overwhelmed. If you start having ketones in your urine, it means your kidneys are recycling at least that much more into your blood.
How does that stuff get so popular?
Fat.
Yeah, I mean, named after
It was weight loss.
DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, is a deadly disease.
Does it make you throw up a lot?
So, my friend's parents, her mom she's diabetic, and she was seriously using the keto diet for a while, and she says that her doctor recommended it for her. But she did faint and she busted her face, but she says it was not from the keto diet, it was from her medicine being too high because she lost weight. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I'm never going to question an MD because I don't know all the particulars behind it. Now, there are modified versions of the keto diet where you don't eliminate carbs, you just regulate the types of carbohydrates that you take in. That's okay, but you should never have ketones in your urine. So that's what I'm going to say about that.
My mom's on a version of it, of like one of the, like she doesn't cut it out completely, and she has like a kind of like a breathalyzer, but for to see if she's in ketosis. She doesn't take it often. She only takes that on the weekend to see if she's in ketosis.
I get frustrated because going into ketosis is not healthy.
Well, I think
There's only one healthy way. Now, going back to our animals, getting away from people, there's only one healthy way to get weight off. Use more energy than you take in, but still have a balanced and complete diet. So that's all I'm going to say. That's like Forrest Gump. That's all I'm going to say about that. As we know, carbs have to be broken down into monosaccharides. Monosaccharides then travel to the liver, where they convert it to glycogen or glucose or sent for storage. Now, here's what glycogen is. The liver is really, oh, excuse me. Oh my goodness, that one stuck up on me. Oh, thank you. The liver is a really, it doesn't look like much. It doesn't look very exciting, but the liver really is a very fascinating organ. So we've got our little lonely bank teller over here. And what she does is she prepares for the worst. She's a prepper. She knows that at some point in your life, your blood glucose is going to drop and you are not going to replenish it. All of you have experienced this, and I have watched you experience this. You didn't eat, your blood glucose begins to drop. And what successively happens, so initially you're very diligently taking notes, your blood glucose begins to drop, and suddenly you're just holding your pen. You're like, maybe she'll think I'm still taking notes if I just hold the pen. And then you kind of slump. Sometimes you can just put the pen down, you don't even care anymore. Heart rate has started to slow down. Your respirations have started to slow down. Your arms and your legs feel like there are 10-pound weights attached to each. And then you do what I get such a giggle out of, is one of these. So I'm looking out and sometimes I wonder, I can see you, right? So now and this is what you do.
I feel entitled.
Right? And then what some of you do, you're such cheeky monkeys. You turn your chair sideways and you're like, if I just close one eye, she won't notice. No, I noticed. Here's what's happened. Your blood glucose has dropped. Nobody's getting paid. And your brain is running around the house going, turn everything off. We don't have the money to pay for all of this. Start shutting stuff down. Heart, I need you to slow down, quit wasting all that energy. We don't have the glucose to go out anyway, so why are you beating so hard? Just quit. Lungs, you don't gotta go so fast. He's slowing down, you guys slow down too. Okay, arms and legs, yeah, we can afford to live without those. Shut them down. Can you live without your arms and legs? Shut it down. Your blood vessels to your arms and your legs constrict, and you don't have the same blood flow. Your brain is like, I'm using quite a bit of energy up here. What would you like me to do? Shut down everything that is not necessary. I could make her go unconscious. Done. Do it. Get on that. And then the liver is like looking around, and we have this like whoop, 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 this big alarm. And she's like, oh crap. She calls the body's already called Carl. They're like, hey, you need to take some energy to the liver. We don't have any glucose. And she needs it to convert. Well, remember what we know about Carl. He's a trudger. So he's like, okay, taking it to the bank. And he's got his overalls. And then he's trudging. He's a trudger. He's very trudgery.
What is Carl?
Carl represents your adipose tissue.
Okay.
He's the guy that oversees your fat.
Okay.
And he's the guy when your body says take fat to break down to use for energy, he's the one that does it.
Okay.
You guys, I
I don't
don't
think
know
you've
why.
ever talked about. Yeah, we don't know who Carl is.
Oh my God, guys, I've never talked to you about Carl.
No, 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 Douglas. We didn't know Carl.
You know about the bank teller though, right?
We put it together. The liver, right?
I know I said something about the liver when we first day one on Monday when I was going over the digestive system.
Carl's the bank teller?
No, the lonely bank. Okay, wait, back up. All right, now I'm seeing why there were such confused faces. You're like, what is happening right now?
Who is Carl?
All right,
And why is he so slow?
let me back up for just a second. Storage unit adipose tissue is over in my mind in this corner. In your body, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Storage unit, your body calls, there's a guy, and I don't know why his name is Carl, it just always has been. Carl represents your body signaling to catabolize stored energy, send it to the liver to be converted into usable energy. So metabolism is the definition, sorry, I'm just hearing this disembodied voice. Sorry. Metabolism is the word we use for how efficiently does your body use nutrients. This is more, I am working on my own stored energy right now. I haven't really eaten anything. My body is signaling hormonally. I'll do it scientifically and then I'll do an analogy. My body is needing calories, needing energy. My body has been signaled now hormonally to start breaking down adipose tissue. That broken down adipose tissue gets repackaged, puts in the blood, goes to the liver, and the liver converts it into glucose, throws that into my blood, and now all of my cells are getting the energy they need to continue. In my analogy, the storage unit is overseen by a guy named Carl. He wears overalls and has a wheelbarrow. The body will call him when your blood glucose gets low. Blood glucose gets low, all of this other stuff is happening. You're conscious, you're going unconscious, your arms don't work anymore. The siren is going and body is saying, Carl, take a load over to the bank. Remember, the currency that your body accepts is glucose. But when you eat the Chipotle burrito, we have a whole lot of other nutrients. It's the liver, the bank of liver, that converts that into the currency that your body will accept. It's no different than if you're going to a foreign country. You've only got American money. What you've got to do, you got to exchange it. So she exchanges and converts these nutrients into glucose. And then she either puts the glucose into your blood for use immediately or send it back to the storage unit. So the body is called Carl. Carl's a trudger. Takes him a little while to get this stuff packaged up and moved over. The problem is that your body now thinks that you're about to die. You're almost unconscious. Your heart has slowed down. Your extremities have been cut off. Little bank teller in the liver has pre-converted glucose that she stored for a rainy day. So she reaches in, this is glycogen. And this is already pre-converted. All she's got to do is go bippity boppity boop, and she puts that into your blood. That will then hold you over until the adipose can be catabolized and converted into additional glucose. Does that make sense to everybody now? Okay. So when I say the word glycogen, Glycogen is pre-converted glucose that is stored in the liver and is used in case of emergency low blood glucose while we're waiting for the catabolization of your stored body tissue. What questions can I answer for you about any of that? Does that make more sense now that you've been introduced to Carl and the bank teller?
Is that why you get like a burst of energy after you fall asleep?
Yay! Yes! So she can not she's I'll do a different sound. Do. She has now dumped that converted glycogen. Your blood glucose begins to rise. And suddenly, huzzah! And I see it. We call it getting your second wind. Suddenly, and I can tell when your liver's dumped it in and you're feeling the effects, because suddenly you stop having rubberneck, and you will sometimes do a little stretch. You'll actually pick your pencil back up. Your eyes will be open. You'll lean from the back of your chair, and you'll be more engaged. Bam! Glycogen got dumped as glucose into your blood, and suddenly now we can turn all the lights back on because we can pay the bill. That's exactly what's happening. Crazy.
If you was to eat a big meal and then come.
Big meat. Okay, so now you're in a whole other realm. You eat the Thanksgiving Day meal, and you sit down to watch the Cowboys lose. Okay, I got no way to talk, okay? My team sucked worse than yours this year. It did. No, I'm admitting it. And I really, as much as I don't like them, I really was devastated for your team.
What team do you?
That's why I say she's got a Cowboys hat on.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, she's got a Cowboys hat on. Anyway, so you've eaten, and now you're watching the Cowboys lose. And you're going unconscious. Completely different. That is not low blood glucose, obviously not, because you just have a turkey baby, right? Going to be born here in a couple of hours. What that is gluttony. Gluttony. All of this food is in your belly. What do we have to do to the food now? Digest it. Does it take energy to digest? Yep. But you have so much in there that the brain now goes, oh, no. All right, here's the deal. We cannot let her get into any trouble right now because we have to divert all of our energy to the gut. If we get into trouble, we can't run away. We certainly can't fight, the fight or flight. So your brain kind of looks around and goes, okay, this is a pretty safe space. This looks pretty great. Shut her down, boys. And they do. And all of my blood and all of my energy is now being diverted to my gut to provide the energy to my intestines to break down that massive meal. Same outcome, completely different process. So glycogen is broken down. Oh my gosh, time flies when we're having fun, you guys. That clock is wrong, I'm sorry. All right, we're gonna pick it up here on tomorrow.